Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to episode 409 of the Wrestle Plug. We just keep on rolling. The Brian Lara of Wrestling Podcast. Yes, American fans, you will have to Google that. I apologise, because cricket is definitely not your thing. Oh boy. Resistance Gallery last night. Battle Pro Wrestling's After Hours free. My first opportunity to see Battle Pro in person, and I was absolutely thrilled to be there. There's been a lot of uncertainty, of course, lately with the coronavirus, shows being shut down all over the place, and luckily for us, this show still went ahead despite so many cancellations across the country, across the world when it comes to wrestling. It was wonderful to get out, not really worry about the hysteria or the paranoia and everything that goes with it, and just go and see some wrestling. You know, just be happy and enjoy wrestling. You know, between my training and, you know, going to so many shows and the all-consuming nature of the podcast and everything that is the world of wrestling, it was actually lovely to just go as a fan for once, you know, and just chill out, have a drink, stand with my wonderful friends, be amongst an amazing crowd, and a really vocal crowd as well, a vociferous crowd, and just get involved. And the Resistance Gallery is one of the coolest places in Bethnal Green that you could, well, it's one of the coolest places in Britain that you could watch wrestling. It's intimate, it's small, there's a great view wherever you stand, more often than not, unless there's some incredibly large Burkazoid in front of you who insists on standing at the front. The view's great. All in all, just a fantastic venue, and Battle Pro backs that up with not only fantastic wrestling, but a world-class quality in their card. Like, I looked at their card prior to it, and I thought, you know, this is what, 12 quid to get in? To see that level of quality of wrestling, and to see the quality of wrestlers on show, and it's not a stretch when I say that there were 2 or 3 matches on this card that would not have been out of place on any card. They could have put these matches on an NXT UK takeover and they would have absolutely delivered. They would have had the crowd going wild. The quality of wrestlers and the quality of content from the wrestlers was absolutely astonishing. And opening up the show was a 6-pack challenge. Cool, blimey. Rocky Mack. He was very keen to get away so that he could check out Morrissey, apparently. I don't know how much of a shoot of that was, but he seemed very keen to get this match over with. He is a wonderful entertainer. He took on Big Guns Joe, Big Wavy Roy Johnson, Danny Black, Jordan Side, and Oliver Peace. Now, I've seen Oliver Peace, by the way. WrestleForce, as everybody knows, was a little bit surprised to see him coming out to suck my dick and telling everybody to suck his dick and calling them cunts. Fair enough. Could have been Ollie Anarchy for the day, but he was still Ollie Peace, apparently. Not quite living up to his surname on that one, Squire. But I liked it. After Hours, of course, would suggest exactly what it is. A much more edgier and aggressive show, and I really appreciate that, because I go to a lot of family-friendly shows, and every now and then it's just nice to have that change in pace and a little bit more violence, a little bit more aggression, and a physical style of wrestling, and this brand personifies that beautifully. Great 6-pack challenge, all centered around the fact that Rocky Mack was desperately trying to get the match to finish immediately. He was great fun. At the beginning of the match, when the wrestlers were making their entrances, he started messing around with the sound booth, going out into the crowd, going to the sound booth, threatening them, telling them to hurry up. He was deliberately speeding up people's music, trying to force people into the ring really quickly. Like, really good fun, really hilarious. Rocky Mack is, without a shadow of a doubt, somebody who is worth his value when it comes to booking people on shows. You know, all these wrestlers are absolutely worth booking on any show that you are hosting, but Rocky Mack brings something a little bit different to everybody else. I love that gimmick. I love the holier than thou stuff, talking to God himself, even going out of his way to shine a light on the ring at some point, insinuating that God himself was involved. He's great fun, and the match was good. It was high tempo, good fun, classic clusterfuck that you would expect out of a match of this quality. I liked it, really enjoyed it. A few guys for me, like for instance Jordan Side, I'm a huge fan of his, didn't get to see much of him in this match. The problem with a 6-pack, of course, especially in such a tight venue, is that it's very difficult for everyone to get their shit in, especially when Rocky Mack is being a fucking legend and trying to get disqualified on purpose. He even tried to hit the referee and get disqualified. The referee ducked and was like, what the fuck do you think you're doing? I loved it. It was great fun. People take wrestling so seriously at times, and even I can be guilty of that sometimes. You know, I like when I'm watching the really high-end, high-production TV wrestling, yeah, I do kind of want a certain sense of realism, and these guys are able to do that, but still retain all that hilarious quality and comedy of wrestling, and great fun. Really enjoyed this opener. Ollie Peace wins. He seems to always win. Whatever show I go to, or whatever show I'm even wrestling on, because I doubt he remembers, but I was actually on his debut show. My debut, I was actually on the same card as him. But yeah, he's just one of those guys. He just has something about him. He's a very talented wrestler. Great look, great style, very athletic. Every guy involved in this match looked good. I hadn't had the chance to see Danny Black before. Liked his look. Looks insanely young as well. And that was the other thing about this card. There were so many guys who, and women of course, who just, they've got their entire future ahead of them. And it's very exciting to know that these people are going to help carry forward the great legacy of what British independent wrestling is and Brit Wrest as a whole. Ollie Peace goes over. Great match, very athletic, good stuff. Not much I can really complain about. Big Guns Joe is hilariously good fun as well. Getting in the face of Big Wavy, who is always absolutely gold in himself. Like, Big Wavy's so funny, and yeah, he carries almost a legitimacy to him. Definitely the rude boy of wrestling, definitely the rude boy of British wrestling, and yeah, just his interactions with Big Guns Joe, who I saw at IPW and numerous other places, really making a name for himself now. I've seen him coming through at TNT wrestling as well. Really talented, really funny. He's got the great combination of not only being a great wrestler and looking the part, but he's also very funny. He's got the character down as well. He's not just a body guy. He's used his body guy image to become a character within itself, and his match with Joey Ryan at the last ever IPW show was fucking hysterical. It was, for a lot of us, and particularly for people around me who are casual fans who hadn't seen much wrestling, they all sort of really became much more involved because of him. He was really good, and obviously the Battle Pro crowd helps by being just so vociferous. They were particularly rowdy last night. Everyone was having a few drinks, having a good time, and that kind of mentality is encouraged, and I appreciate it. Heel Connor Mills versus El Nino in your second match, or El Nino, depending on whoever you want to pronounce. When he goes over to Portugal, he's going to be made, or Spain for that matter. This was an interesting one for me. I saw Nino on the poster, and I hadn't seen him before. Now, I was reliably informed by the very, very, very part-time co-host of this podcast, Nick Payne, the guy who jumps into every now and then when he can be asked, help me out with the workload. And when I say workload, he literally just sits there and slags off women's wrestling because he's a cretin. He reliably informed me that Nino was very good, and I was going to be very excited to see him. Now, I went with my good friend Maddie and my good brother Tanvir as well, and we all sort of looked at him for, wow, he's young. Like, he looks, no offense Nino, because you're an incredible wrestler by the way, but he looked about 12, and he comes out here and he faces Connor Mills, and let's be honest, Connor Mills doesn't exactly look like an old man, does he? He's a young chipper himself, and both of these guys came out and delivered this match was fucking awesome. All jokes aside, lads, absolutely incredible. I know what Connor Mills is capable of. I've never seen Connor Mills wrestle this physically though, which was very fucking cool to see. I saw him have a match with Rudy Ryan at WrestleForce at East Grinstead, and I thought, good physical match, but this was really hard hitting. And this shows what's special about El Nino as well. He was able to take an astonishing amount of abuse and yet deliver insane aerial offense. And based off of that one match alone, I just turned around to everyone around me. I was like, that kid's got a bit of Will Ospreay about him. He feels like a second coming of him, like an evolution of him in some ways. And he delivered such an astonishing performance. Connor Mills, I know what I'm going to get from him. Love that suplex with a kick. Absolutely fucking awesome. Such a cool maneuver, but so many great moves in this match. And just the sheer quality of the high-flying offense from Nino, the bravery as well, to be able to, in such a small venue, with quite a low ceiling compared to other places. I know it's a little bit easier where the ring's set up because you've got more room, but it's very compact, almost claustrophobic to a lot of people. It's I wouldn't recommend it if you're claustrophobic, the venue, but I cannot recommend Battle Pro enough already based off of these two matches alone. For them to have that bravery and to move the way they did, and the suicida, topes and everything that goes with it, I was just mind blown. And they told a great story as well. Connor Mills was kicking 10 bells of shit out of this poor lad, and he just kept coming back for more and ultimately got the win as well. And that was so cool about it. Like, he presented himself so well, and there's this real mentality in wrestling right now of, oh, little guys shouldn't go over because they're too small, and that's nonsense if they deliver themselves properly. Obviously there are exceptions, someone like Marco Stunt perhaps obviously shouldn't be going over someone of the size of maybe Cody Rhodes or even bigger than that, but El Nino, he's not a midget by any means, and or dwarf, excuse me, for the smaller community, but he is one of those people who he makes you believe who he is and his character, and his quality of wrestling is phenomenal. Absolutely amazing. I love this match. Thought this was one of the best matches of the night, and to be honest, it was very hard to pick good matches because everyone delivered. But yeah, it was great. Really fun, really exciting, high flying. This was definitely, if you're into your more athletic side of wrestling, this was definitely a cup of tea. This was the match for you. Charlie Evans versus Ashmore, the hip star. I've heard a lot about Ashmore, and I've seen a lot of him online. Never seen him in person. Now, Charlie Evans, as everybody knows, is, for my money, one of the best women's wrestlers in the world. And people sort of say, oh, that's a bit over the top. Oh, that's a bit much. For me, I think her level of quality when it comes to work, her look, her style, her attitude, the stuff that she does with Millie McKenzie and Medusa Complex, I truly believe her to be one of the most inspiring and exciting women's wrestlers that we have, and to have her over here and to have her as part of Brit Rest, we are so lucky in that regard. Didn't get a chance to actually go over and say hello to her, which I'm gutted about, because I would have really liked to have spoken to Charlie and asked her if she'd like to come on a podcast and everything. To be honest, everybody involved in this show is more than welcome to come on a podcast and boost their brand, especially in this trying time when finances can be a bit difficult. So if anybody wants to come on, promote merchandise, promote their brand, for anyone who knows what this podcast is about, it has always been about the wrestlers, not about us, not about our egos. Our fun comes from just simply doing it, and we have enough shows of our own where we cover stuff and have a good time. But when it comes to interviews, it's all about you, the wrestlers, all about you, the talents, and you are more than welcome to use this platform as you see fit, to promote yourself and to say what you want to say. So for any wrestlers who are listening, you are more than welcome on, and feel free to drop us a message or tweet or whatever it may be, or contact me personally on Instagram at AaronNixPW. I'll leave that in the description if you need to chat to me. But yeah, ultimately, I love Charlie Evans. I adore her. I think she's wonderful. She's got such a unique style, and she's on this tear at the moment of whipping men's asses, and Ashmore was no exception. And my God, he didn't mind dishing it out too. They kicked the fucking shit out of each other, these two. Oh, I fucking loved it. I love intergender wrestling. Some dickhead in the crowd shouted domestic abuse. Fuck off. Fucking hell. Like, I don't want to have a rant about it because this is about Battle Pro, this podcast. But yeah, I might take to YouTube to discuss it. But for me, because we've got a YouTube channel and rants on there, and also, by the way, I captured, should I say, a few naughty little clips from this show, which I'm more than happy to upload. So check out YouTube; they'll probably be on there. Obviously, those clips will ultimately belong to Battle Pro and the wrestlers involved. So if anyone in Battle Pro would like, access to them, because I'll tag them in them, they're more than welcome to have hard copies of them, because ultimately that belongs to you, not to me. I was just very fortunate to be there and take that footage myself. So yeah, hard hitting, physical, vicious stuff from Charlie Evans and Ashmore. Love this match. This is, for me, I'm gonna stick this in my match of the year list. As everybody knows, I keep a long ass list because I'm that kind of nerd, and this is going in there. This was a masterpiece. They kicked the shit out of each other. It was violent. It was aggressive. It wasn't pretty. It was very rusty around the edges. It was rugged. It was hard hitting. I really like Ashmore. Being bold and having a sizable beard myself, I did not appreciate the large amount of abuse he was getting from the audience about him being bold. And people were chanting micro penis. No idea what that's about. That seems like a reflection on other people, really. But I'm not going to go there either. But yeah, what I love about people like Ashmore, when he gets in the ring with Charlie Evans, it didn't feel like he was going easy or anything like that, and nor should he, because Charlie Evans can fucking handle herself, and I reckon Charlie Evans could handle the majority of men on the British independent wrestling circuit. Absolutely. That is one. Don't be fooled by the looks. That is one tough bitch. And I admire that no end. She is an absolute fucking queen at what she does. And Ashmore, he was laying it in, and Charlie was fucking giving it back. The forearms to the chin, the enziguris, the slams, the top rope suplexes. It was fucking awesome. And they told a great story as well. When I hear people say, independent wrestling doesn't tell stories, shut the fuck up. Independent wrestling tells stories just as well as anywhere else. And if this match had been on any card with any kind of major promotion, if this had TV cameras all over it, people would be fucking losing their minds. And that's what's so great about independent wrestling, is you can pay 12 quid to go to watch Battle Pro with 100 odd people inside that tiny little ass building in the Resistance Gallery with all that cool vibe about it, and you can see world-class wrestling, some of the best matches in the world, and you can see it, and you almost feel like you're a little part of it. You feel like you're a cult. You feel like you're watching something that so many other people don't get to see or aren't privy to. And for anyone who doesn't get to go to these shows or chooses not to go to, you feel like you're not above them, obviously, but you almost feel like you've seen something that they haven't. That, you feel special for that. I can say, because I can say to people, I saw Charlie Evans versus Ashmore the other night, easily a match of the year contender. And because of where it was, people just dismiss it and are like, whatever. But if you're in the know, or if you're there, you know. There's that old phrase, that famous phrase of, if you know, you know. And now I know why people want to see Battle Pro, why Battle Pro is doing so well, why it is such a fucking high quality promotion, because of matches like that. It was absolutely killer. And the fact that Charlie Evans also went over as well, it was fantastic. It was so brutal. It really was. If you want proper video highlights, by the way, because we got a few things that we've managed to record, only a few little things, because to be honest, I wanted to be a proper fan and enjoy the show. But if you do want proper video highlights of anything, check out Instagram, Battle Pro's Instagram, which we'll provide a link to as well, because thanks to, I believe, the wonderful Big Strong Loose, they had some fantastic media footage there. So, and obviously somebody who works in a very similar vein to her, I can absolutely appreciate that work. So check out Battle Pro's Instagram, some very cool stuff on there. Awesome match with Charlie Evans going over as well. Very, very cool to see. Right before the intermission for the Battle Pro Heavyweight Championship, wow, David Francisco defends against Chris Ridgway in what can only be described as UFC 228. My fucking god, I love David Francisco. I think he is legitimately one of the most underrated wrestlers in the world. I consume so much wrestling. I watch so much wrestling. I admire wrestling. I train to be a wrestler. I am a student of this game. And when you see someone like David Francisco, you just know he's a different level. This is a guy who literally lives for this sport, for this art form, for this presentation. And that is why he's Battle Pro's champion. I have no doubt of that. There is not a more deserving champion. And when I go to places like Rev Pro and I see David Francisco on the door taking people's tickets and saying hello and being polite as anything and being the ultimate consummate gentleman that he was to people like myself and others, I can't help but think that that is a massive disservice. And I know that you have to pay your dues and all that horse shit and everything that goes with it. And, don't get me wrong, I'm not against that sort of stuff. But at the same time, when somebody is undeniably that talented, like a David Francisco, I do sometimes think, fuck you, get that person off the door and get him in the fucking ring. He is so talented. And Chris Ridgway is legitimately one of the hardest bastards I've ever seen. He scares the shit out of me. Like, I consider myself to be a tough motherfucker, and I'll see Chris Ridgway and I'm like, I'm just gonna go and hide at the back if you don't mind, mate. His kicks, by the way, to David Francisco, I'm astonished that guy was able to come back out and sell his merch. Fucking hell. I thought he was trying to kill him at one point, but that shows you the quality of the wrestlers and the way they sell things and the way they lay their shit in, and that just shows you how fucking physical and how tough and how much I'm in admiration of wrestling and wrestlers, regardless of where you are on the card. This was a fucking masterpiece. This is again in my match of the year list. Battle Pro referred to Charlie Evans versus Ashmore as brutal. This was as equally, if not more so. Wow, Chris Ridgway tried to decapitate David Francisco with his shins, and all I can say is I'm so glad he was wearing kick pads, because if he wasn't, something would have broken. Wowzers, he was laying it in. This was, if you like your wrestling to be a little bit more on the real side, a little bit more on the physical side with a splash of MMA and a whole lot of good technical wrestling as well, but a great story. I mean, this had everything. Literally everything. But if you like that physical MMA style of wrestling, this is where you need to hang your hat. Fucking phenomenal. Chris Ridgway, he's one of those guys, it's weird. You almost feel like you only see him once in a blue moon sometimes. I don't know if that's because he wrestles a lot more in the north and stuff and that. But, I mean, you're amazed when you see guys like this and you think, how are they not main eventing everywhere? How are they not in NXT UK? I mean, ultimately it's down to them. They may have that choice, but I see these guys and I think, I'm sorry, but if you're not booking people like David Francisco and Chris Ridgway, I seriously have to question what you're doing, because these are the best. These are the best in Britain for my money. These are the guys who are not only the spine of what we do as British independent wrestlers and people involved in the wrestling world, but these are the guys who, they just provide something that a lot of other wrestlers can't. There's a reason why this was the match for the championship in this company. I know it wasn't the main event, but this is the belt. Everybody wants to be the champion. Everyone wants to be that guy on the marquee, the front guy on the poster. Because if you don't, what the fuck are you doing in this? And these two guys are in there, and they deliver on a different level to so many people. And they topped off what was in a I would have been very happy if the show had ended there, because that's 4 top quality matches of great, hilarious opener in some places, and then 3 world-class singles matches back to back to back. Honestly, all 3 of those matches were fucking fantastic, and I couldn't believe it. I thought, Jesus Christ, still got, an intermission and then the second half, and they just delivered. Absolutely delivered. This is a show that started at 8:30 at night, and it could have gone 5 hours and I still would have felt like it flew by. That's how good the quality of the wrestling was. Honestly, one of the best first halves of any indie show I've probably ever seen. There was a little bit of a change to the card. We were meant to have a women's fatal 4-way after the intermission. Unfortunately, don't know whether that's due to injuries or whatever. The scheduled women's fatal 4-way could not be contested, so we actually got a singles match instead, with the winner getting an opportunity to challenge for the vacant Battle Pro Women's Championship. Kira Chimera took on Miss Lexi Rose. Haven't seen either woman before, not in person at least, and as everybody knows, I adore women's wrestling, and I cover that a lot because I feel like even to this day it still needs more coverage than it gets. Loved Lexi Rose, particularly from an acting standpoint. Her facial expressions were amazing, because Kira Chimera, let's be honest, she kicked the shit out of her, and it was a relatively short match. I like both women's look. I think Kira Chimera, I said to my friends, especially, I think the baseball bat helped, but she had almost a female Negan about her. If anyone's watched Walking Dead and knows what Negan's about, not just the presentation, but also the way she carried herself. Very confident, very vicious, almost a dark side to her. Great look, great presence, everything you could ask for in a great women's heel. And on the flip side of things, you had this very plucky, very pretty, very bouncy and flamboyant woman in Lexi Rose, but she could also take a lot of punishment and was clearly very physical. And she did take a lot of punishment. That spine buster was disgraceful. I was like, oh, fucking hell. I remember the first time I took one of those and just like kind of getting up and being like, oh yeah, I'm absolutely fine. Where's your wheelchair? And she's just like, takes it, and then you see her walking around afterwards like, yeah, I got a shit kicked out of me. What of it, mate? Like, and I love the thing that really stood out to me. Both women were great, but the thing that stood out to me most was, like I've mentioned, Lexi Rose's her facial expressions. When you're in a place like Resistance Gallery, you're afforded the opportunity to see wrestlers' facial expressions, their psychology a lot more than maybe you would be if you were, say, like for instance, when I went to see NJPW at the Copper Box, you're so far back, it's hard to really appreciate the psychology and the art form of it when you can't see the wrestlers' faces as much, and you could see these with such clarity. Helps that I've got my brand new glasses on as well, so the clarity was extra. It was right there. It was extra HD for me, ultra HD, and you could see, like, one of my friends turned around to me and was just like, yeah, she genuinely looks like she's in a lot of distress, and maybe she was, because Chimera was kicking 10 bells of shite out of her, but ultimately she delivered great facial expressions, great performance, and yeah, just I watched this and I just thought, again, women's wrestling, like a lot of women's wrestling has been, shall I say, I'd probably say compromised by NXT UK. Okay, I'm not one of these people who thinks, fuck NXT and all this. I just think more opportunities, more talent. But where these people move on, it opens up opportunities. And as far as I'm concerned, NXT UK has contracted and pilfered a lot of the talent from the women's division especially, and I don't think it's that much of a stretch to say that they have made a very good point of taking an astonishing level of talent away from our women's division more so than anywhere else. If you look at the quality of women's wrestling just 2 years ago in Brit Wrestling, and now you look at NXT UK and how many of those women who are now working for that company, and obviously because of that are restricted in where they can work in their indie performances, although luckily for us we've got Killer Kelly back now and a couple of others, which is great, Jazzy Gabba as well. It's no surprise that, you know, Brit Rest is going to take these hits and it's going to take time for us to build talent up again. But like I say, where people leave, where there's chaos, there is opportunity, as the great Paul Heyman once said. And this is a prime example of that. Two women with great looks, physical, talented, beautiful, great look, everything you want. And I love the polar opposite looks about them as well. Kira Chimera, very dark, very menacing, black and red attire, shredded attire, the baseball bat, the Negan kind of look, that almost gothic kind of look, you know, alternative. And then Lexi Rose, who most certainly does not look normal in any sense from this. And when I say that, I mean because boring is, you know, normal is fucking boring, and we don't do normal here, and I wouldn't expect you guys to either. But she comes out, she's more plucky, you know, vibrant sort of look, the white and red, the good like the tartan shorts. Thought that was quite cool. Don't know if there's a bit of Scottish going on in there, but if there is, fantastic stuff. Always got to, you know, show off your culture a little bit. But I enjoyed it. Thought it was really good. My only complaint would be a little bit short, you know. Give the women a little bit more time. Maybe that's because the first half was hectic as hell and really went quite a distance, and they thought, shit, we need to be out of this building, because normally I think buildings have a curfew of 11. They had an advertised time of 10:30. Show started at 8:30, and it certainly went over that, and I'm not complaining. More wrestling, the better, as far as I'm concerned. But yeah, other than the length of the match, I thought it was utterly phenomenal. Your penultimate match, wow. I got to finally... Do you know what? I've watched Jodie Fleisch and Johnny Storm for 20 years. When I was a kid, I grew up in Portsmouth as a kid, and I used to go and watch FWA. And I used to see these guys on a regular basis. But amazingly, for all the shows I've been to over all the years, I've never seen them wrestle each other. And I know they have done so often. I've seen them so many times in tag team matches. I got to see them wrestle people I never thought I'd ever see them wrestle. In so many different promotions across the land, and saw Jodie Fleisch in Bola, and it was amazing. I think he wrestled Shima, and I just thought, wow, like I think I've seen these guys do everything, but I'd never seen them wrestle each other until now. So I have to thank Battle Pro for that alone, and I would have gone for this alone. And this was just kind of like a small little lovely cherry on top of a cake. Like these two went out there, and again, reasonably short, I thought, but fuck me, like. These are two veterans, and I'm sure they consider themselves to be older lads, but they go like they're 20 years old. Honestly, I can't imagine a day where these two aren't wrestling. And I'm sure eventually they will have to retire, but I hope it's no time soon, because British wrestling was built on the foundation and the back of the hard work of people like Johnny Storm and Jodie Fleisch. Legends of this business, without a shadow of a doubt. And if you don't know who those two are, I do get pissed off, because you should fucking know, because all this wonderful wrestling that is afforded to you right now, all this wonderful quality of the Brit Rest scene, the golden age, this plethora of promotions that we never had when I was like, you know, I remember watching wrestling in sort of like the late 90s. That's when I really got into Brit Rest. There wasn't that much. There sure as hell wasn't what you have now. And to see it flourish like this, and know that these two helped hold down the pillars of British wrestling when there was a time when it was dog shit, or when it was good but nobody was watching, because ultimately nobody cared, because on a Saturday night nobody wanted to go and watch wrestling. You know, Friday, Saturday night, even a Sunday, people didn't want to go and watch wrestling, they wanted to do something else. Now people want to see wrestling. Now we have an incredible independent scene, and that was built off of the back of guys like this. And they go out there and deliver a short but world-class match still. In a short amount of time, they went out and just... By the way, the athleticism is outrageous. And I remember my friend Maddie, because I'm 35, and my friend Maddie turned around to me and said, see, you know, those guys are still out there looking in their prime and killing it. There's no reason why you still can't contribute something to wrestling. There's no reason why you can't still be a half-decent wrestler. And these guys inspire me more than anybody else to just train as hard as I can, to work as hard as I can, improve my fitness as much as I can, and hopefully get an opportunity just to even, you know, be on a card with someone like that would just be a massive opportunity. It really would. And it just inspires me. And it was fucking cool to find this out. I've seen them in person wrestle each other. Great athleticism, great manoeuvres, and Jody Fleisch picks up the win with that insane 720 style flying DDT. Just, that DDT is saucy. I love that. Like, the best tornado DDT in the biz, sunshine. Filthy. Absolutely filthy. Also, a shout out to Jody Fleisch for being so humble and, you know, giving me even just a few seconds of his time to stop and chat. And, you know, he's always all smiles. There are not too many guys who are as fun or as likeable as Wonder Kid Johnny Storm, or Wonder Man Johnny Storm at this point, and Jody Fleisch. I honestly cannot stress enough how important it is that people, if you see them on your local cards, especially if you're a wrestling savant or a connoisseur like I consider myself to be, you owe it to yourself to go and watch these guys and take in as much of the quality of wrestling that they give you as possible, because they won't be around forever. Nobody is. And these guys, I wouldn't say they're on short time, but they're obviously getting into the latter stages of their career. Although you never know. I mean, Jesus Christ, some guys are wrestling at 60 now. So there you go, Jody. Another 20 years at least, mate. And 15 for you, Johnny. Crack on. But yeah, just fucking awesome. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for entertaining all of us, and especially this little Mark who was sitting in the corner by the bar having a great time. Absolutely amazing. The main event for the Battle Pro Wrestling Tag Team Championships. This was a surprise to me. So it was the NIC defending their belts. Now, I know the NIC very well, of course. The NIC kind of have become household names, especially across the smaller indies. Really appreciate them. Ocean and Charlie have just really torn a real path through BritWres, especially in the last year or so. And I think being associated with OJMO has only helped that tenfold. And what surprises me is where they're actually, because I've never seen them really as heels before, and now I'm going to these shows and seeing these guys as heels, and it's not jarring by any means, but it's also so cool because it shows that they've got an incredible amount to them. You know, it's not easy to be able to switch between those characters. You know, so many people. It's the same with OJMO. He's such a plucky underdog, and he's presented so well at places like Rev Pro and Progress that you think, then you turn out to Battle Pro and he's a fucking bellend. You're like, fair enough. And we'll get to you in a minute, OJMO. How's your nuts, bro? My lord, you are game for it. I've got to give you that. They were taken on two rather unique lads, one by the name of JJ Lynch and the other by Rex Armstrong. Now, Nick Payne had told me that in the build-up to this show, one of them had had their head shaved, and the other one had had their beard shaved by the NIC, and that is what kind of built up to this grudge match. So not only do you get this world-class quality of wrestling, but Battle Pro give you these storylines, which of course I'm going to be extremely invested in going forward. And this tag team match was a death match. And when you put death match on things, sometimes you think, okay, it's just going to be a little bit hardcore, or, you know. Now, there wasn't blood, and I'm okay with that because these guys have to make a living and it's their image that they need to tarnish. Like, okay, it wasn't Jimmy Havoc levels deathmatch, but this fucking match was, I love this. This was a fucking car crash, and without trying to sound like some sadist lunatic, I fucking adored this. I loved it. The level of violence was, I was like, at one point, I swear I just kind of lost myself in it, and I went, kick the fucking shit out of it. Like, they were knocking lumps out of each other, breaking fucking kendo sticks over each other's head. At one point, one of the unfortunate lads from NIC got a fucking razor, an electric razor in his sack. Oh my God, that takes a special kind of human being. Using the turnbuckle hook to give him the old fish hook in the mouth. Oh, Lord almighty, and the nostrils. And yeah, chair shots asunder, and the threatening of a razor blade as well. I honestly thought, someone's going to get the cheese grater treatment here if they carry on. It was so vicious, so violent. It was a whirlwind of a main event. Carnage, weapons everywhere. It was very cool. I actually noted this to the announcer, who's of course very well known. I noticed that he was very chill throughout the whole show, chilling out in his seat, checking out his phone, enjoying the show. But I noticed during this match he was particularly on edge, and don't blame him, to be honest. Bodies flying everywhere, people dying everywhere. It was fucking awesome, and it was a great story, and the crowd was so hyped and so pumped, and they wanted Armstrong and Lynch to win these tag team championship, and I like their look. They almost look, I'll tell you what, they wouldn't look out of place with Paul Robinson by their side as a trio. Okay, mostly based on looks, but also that kind of almost psychotic look about them, that real fire, that real edge, that physicality. They didn't just look like wrestlers, they looked like fighters. And I love it when people ramp it up for the deathmatch. It's kind of, it's not a written rule, but it's kind of an untold thing that in deathmatches, wrestlers will come to the ring looking a little bit more streetworthy. You know, the jeans, the calf jeans, or the taped fists. You know, not so much the classic sort of, you know, trunks and knee pads and things like that. They maybe have their boots under a pair of jeans and, you know, just topless or whatever, or a shredded t-shirt, you know, a shredded bit of merch. I like that. I love that rugged look. And these boys delivered. Like I say, weapon shots everywhere, all sorts of crazy little spots, plenty of actual wrestling as well, which is great. You know, you can be forgiven with these death matches for not really seeing any wrestling and just having a hardcore weapons fest, but they delivered a lot of things, and they also told a great story. And even though I haven't been to a show before for Battle Pro, I knew what the story was. I was sucked into that. And you could tell the whole thing was about, can they overcome the NYC, who constantly have the numbers advantage? And OJMO gets involved, and he gets up on the top rope, and he screams, "Fuck every single one of you!" And he goes for the big splat, and wham! Gets nailed with a flying steel chair, which takes him out of the equation. And yeah, ultimately it's Lynch and Armstrong coming out on top for what will most likely be the biggest win of their careers so far. Congratulations, lads. What a performance. All four of you involved, and also OJMO, who's an amazing cameo. Everyone involved, it was absolute fucking quality. The physicality and the feeling when they won the tag team championships, like, it was a really cool moment. You could feel the emotion waving through, not only in the fans, and of course they had such an amazing supporters group, did Lynch and Armstrong. The people around us were so much fun, great fun. They were so passionately involved in this match, getting behind. Obviously, I assume they knew of quite a few of them, maybe partners, friends, family, that kind of thing. They really helped make this what it was. It was a very special moment. It was very fucking cool. And yeah, it capped off, which for me is one of the best wrestling independent shows I think I've been to in recent memory. And when you think that I've been to hundreds, and I've covered so many on this podcast, and I've spoken to so many wrestlers, that's no mean feat. And that's down to Battle Pro. That's down to everybody involved. It's down to the fan base. It's down to the people who work there that take the tickets, the ring crew, the camera work, people like Big Strong Loose, the announcers, the referee, who was phenomenal. Great mohawk, cracking beard, sunshine. Looked a little bit like Wolverine. Very nice. Like, almost like the animated Wolverine. Not bad. Not bad at all. I say that because I can't grow any fucking hair, so I'm slightly jealous on that end. But everyone involved makes it so cool. And what I liked about it was it wasn't supremely polished. Sometimes you go to wrestling and try and make it as polished as possible and as clean as possible. No, they knew what kind of product they had. This is a little bit more gritty, a little bit more in your face. It was smash mouth, and from the get-go you felt like they grabbed you by the bollocks and said, have a look at this product and pay attention, you motherfucker. And that's how Battle Pro comes across to me. And it was just fucking awesome. I'm so thrilled and so excited to check out future shows. Hopefully this stupid virus is going to fuck off and get out of the way so we can get back to enjoying what it is we do best, which is living our lives with our friends, checking out great wrestling, getting back to training, getting involved. I've heard training has been cancelled across the board as well at so many places, including my own. Very difficult in this time, but one thing's for sure, that when this all fucks off and we're back to normal, or as normal as things can be in this kind of world, things like Battle Pro are going to be there to entertain us. They're going to be there to kill it for us every single time. Thank you so much to everyone involved, and thank you to all the wrestlers first and foremost. I had amazing company. It's great to see Nick, great to see Tanvir, Maddie. I love those guys dearly. They're my best friends. I honestly live for those guys and looking after them, and they look after me so much. And I'm so grateful to see him, especially Tanvir as well. Great to see you again, brother. Don't get to see you nearly as much as I would like. And yeah, most importantly, thank you to Battle Pro and the wrestlers involved. And like I said earlier, if anybody listening to this is involved with a company, any wrestlers involved, would like to come on a podcast, share your story, share your brand, I have an astonishing amount of time that's available for you. We make time for the stars. We make time for you. And I just want to reiterate that point. This podcast is for you. When you come on, it is your platform. It's your brand. It's your promotion. This isn't fucking Parkinson where we just, give you the this is your life shtick and the typical questions. We have conversations with you. And ultimately, we want you to share your story of us and say what you want to say, not what we want you to say. That's how it works. So get in contact if you'd like to be involved. No matter how small in the business you are, no matter how big you are in the business, there is room for everybody at WrestlePlug. And there is room for everyone when it comes to independent wrestling. Thank you very much, Battle Pro. That's all from the WrestlePlug for now, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you've enjoyed this review. Hopefully, if you aren't involved in Battle Pro or you didn't go to the show, this has shed some light on why it's so good. And obviously, if you want to check out Battle Pro, it's at BattleProW on Twitter. They also have an Instagram as well and a Facebook, of course. We'll add links to all of their social media in the description of this podcast and, of course, on our social media going forward. And please, please, please make sure that you check out our social media at WrestlePlug on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. We also have a YouTube now, WrestlePlug, which you can find. We can link you to all of those in the descriptions as well. On the YouTube, we normally upload a lot of our audio content, some special rants and things like that. There's a lot of YouTube exclusive material on there. We'll also be uploading any footage that we got from this show, sticking it up there as well. Hopefully a few things that you guys can check out, which will help add to the wonderful media experience that was involved at Battle Pro and all the great highlights that you can check out via their social media. But from myself, Aaron Nix, thank you very much for listening to the WrestlePlug, and we'll catch you very soon for more insane nonsense from that wonderful Brit Rest scene.